Tonight in South Bend. I'm sure everybody saw the pictures during the day, the picturesque scene in South Bend. It was a snow day, and they didn't need much time to get amped up. Coach Cignetti, he was ready to go. That's a confident cat.
There's a lot of skeptics. There's a lot of doubters. I get it, right? Haven't beat a top 25 team. Nebraska's 25th in the coach poll. We beat their ass. We don't just beat top 25 teams. We beat the shit out of them. Okay.
Coach, you're only allowed to cuss if you're on ESPN2. I thought everyone understood the rule. All right, we're scoreless. Tip! Riley Leonard's pass is deflected and picked. D'Angelo Pons has got it, and the Hoosiers ready to roll. This is one of the top scoring offenses in the land. They score 43 a game, but Curtis Rourke gives it right back. Xavier Watts there with the pick. And in the blink of an eye, this game turns. Instead of the Hoosiers getting on the board first, there goes Jeremiah Love. This was the guy my guy Stanford Steve's been talking about, said, I want to see what he does in the playoff. What he does is go for the longest rush in Notre Dame history. 98 yards. Irish on the board, 7-0. The next Irish possession. DeGarian Price on the move into the red zone. Later in the drive, 2nd and goal. Riley Leonard, Jaden Thomas. It's 14-0, and the Irish carried a 17-3 lead into the locker room. Hoosiers spent 26 minutes trailing in the first half after they spent 22 minutes and 41 seconds trailing in the first half all season. 3rd and 11, early third. Bryce Young gets to Rourke. They pressured him all game long. Ensuing Notre Dame possession, 3rd and 14. Late hit by James Carpenter. That's a tough one. I get he's on the Irish sideline, and his momentum's carrying him in. You can't shove, I guess, extending those arms. Cignetti can't believe it. It's all getting away from his guys. 17-3. Leonard with the dump off here. Aeneas Williams is taken down. It's 4th down. Notre Dame sends out the field goal unit. But the Irish, given the way they've dominated defensively, holding the Hoosiers in check, you figure if we get stopped to short field, they snap it to Mitchell Evans. He's not going to get there. But you're going to see Coach Cignetti running down the sidelines, calling for a timeout. One of those times where sometimes you get lucky. And Marcus Freeman, he knows we got away with one there. Mitchell Jeter had a nice night. Snap, hold, and kick are all good. And given the way the Irish defense was dominating, this felt like pretty much a wrap at this point. It's 20-3 late third. Love, again, get off me. Grown man behavior. Stiff arm. Another Notre Dame drive that ended in a field goal. 4th quarter, Rourke on 3rd down to Justice Ellison. And on 4th and 11, down 17 with under 11 to go in the 4th quarter, they punt. Now, Coach Cignetti had been as confident a guy as you'll hear from the moment he got on the mic in Assembly Hall last year when he took the job all season long. I don't know how you punt there. Now Notre Dame. Riley Leonard deep. Jordan Faison down at the 1. Leonard with his 15th rushing touchdown of the year, the most ever in a season by an Irish quarterback. Indiana pushed the tempo and got aggressive late and had a couple of scores. Recovered an onside kick and made it a 10-point game in the end. But it's the Irish who move on. They're in the win column in the college football playoff era. First appearance, 2018. They got smoked by Trevor Lawrence and Clemson. A couple of seasons later, not a whole lot better. Mac Jones in Alabama gave them a dose. But tonight, they end up winning by 10 in a game that, as you saw, they were led by a bunch more. I want to go back to the very beginning. I just asked Sean McDonough, I feel like I worded it poorly because a 7-0 lead in the first quarter is not curtains. But I ask you, How significant a two-play sequence is a pick and a 98-yard touchdown given this Hoosier team on the road against the Irish? What'd you see there?
Scott, it's demoralizing. I mean, let's be honest, and let's not forget, Indiana just got an interception off Riley Leonard. They get the short field, they convert on the third down, and then they throw that pick. It was a poor pass by Curtis Rourke. Xavier Watts, as he always does, he gets that interception. And then for Love to go 98, that's a backbreaker. I don't want to say it's curtains like you said, but that's demoralizing. And for a team that has dominated their opponents and playing from ahead all season long, that's tough for them to overcome. And as more and more of the game went on, we saw Notre Dame really dominate the line of scrimmage of this football game. But you just have to wonder if Indiana even gets a field goal there and it's 3-0, not 7-0 the other way, how different maybe this game could have been. That was a backbreaker, to say the least.
Indiana and USC are very different in every possible way, and the weather was very different. And I'm getting to that Notre Dame USC game. The last time we saw the Irish, man, that USC offense was humming. They hung big numbers and a lot of yards on Notre Dame. This is an IU team that arrived averaging 43 a game. What did Notre Dame do so well to largely keep the Hoosiers in check until the very end?
I mean, up front, Riley Mills in particular, and I hope he's okay. It looks like hopefully he'll be able to make a comeback and be able to play against Georgia. I just thought up front, getting Howard Cross, the third back, that helped. And then I thought, that they really outgoaled and had some timely blitzes. And I thought they attacked the interior of that Indiana offensive line, had a ton of success. You saw some of the speed coming off the edge. 10 tackles for loss, Scott, 3 sacks. Indiana just had no chance blocking Notre Dame up front, and it really took apart everything they could do running it. And for Curtis Rourke, he started slow, and he never was able to speed up, and especially with all that pressure he was dealing with all night.
I want to come back to IU. Let's acknowledge the season they had. We know that they didn't have great wins because their schedule didn't afford them great opportunities within their conference, et cetera, et cetera. But they played from ahead, and they didn't just win, they won by a ton. And they find themselves not just down, but down by a bunch. How difficult is that, Dusty, when you find yourself in the deepest of waters on a stage such as this?
It's extremely difficult on the road in what was an awesome atmosphere. That's one thing that probably won't get talked about enough. Our first ever home college game, and the Notre Dame fans absolutely brought it. So you're dealing with a really good football team in Notre Dame, an outstanding defense, this crowd that's breathing down your neck, everything working against you. And once you found yourself getting down multiple scores, and I know Curtis Rourke's had a lot of success and this offense has been high-flying all year, but that was uncharted territories outside of Ohio State. It was just something, Scott, that they just could not overcome throughout the course of that game. And I got to tell you, and I smile because that game could not have gone better for Marcus Freeman. His team dominated that football game. Yet in the end, they give up a little defensively, so there'll be plenty for him to address these next couple of weeks leading into Georgia.
And it's a great honor to obviously be a part of what's to come. And I don't want to downplay that, but tonight is about tonight, right? And about what this team did to, achieve the outcome that we all desired. And so I want them to celebrate that. I want them not to look past tonight. Celebrate tonight. Celebrate this victory that they worked tremendously hard to achieve and obtain. And then I told them they'll have tomorrow off. They can take one day off, and we'll get them back on Sunday. But then we'll start thinking about the Sugar Bowl and the opportunity we have at hand. But you don't get enough time in life and enough time in situations like this not to enjoy it. And I was reminded by that by a couple people I talked to, but also just talking to the team. Enjoy this. Enjoy this. Don't look ahead. Enjoy this, and then we'll move forward. But proud of the way they played. I told Coach Signetti after the game, I think that's a heck of a football team we faced that obviously showed wouldn't quit till the end. Some good teaching opportunities for us. We're going to use that fourth quarter defensively, special teams-wise. We got to learn from some of those situations that happened in that game because we have to be better because of it. And I'm actually kind of glad it did happen, because it's going to be a chance for us to humble ourselves and get back to work. And
they probably got more depth
than we do, and they probably have some frontline guys that are just a little bit bigger, stronger, faster than our guys.
Rick in the back.
Back here. You guys are down 23, I think, with like 11, 12 minutes to go, 3 scores behind. You decided to punt there. What went through your mind not going
I mean,
for it?
I didn't want to punt, but we were doing nothing on offense. And our defense was fighting. You know, that was the only positive, really, that I could draw is our defense was still fighting because offense was doing nothing. And I didn't want to go 4th and 10. You know, it's like you're just wishing and hoping. You have nothing to base it on that you can convert 4th and 10 at that point, right? And there's still time if you punt to win the game. So that was the reason why. I didn't want to do it, but I felt like it was the best move.
I didn't get the punt, to be honest with you. Disappointing end for the Hoosiers to the season. Of course it is. It sucks anytime any season ends. But there isn't a single fan of the Hoosiers on planet Earth who thought that they would be playing Notre Dame in round 1 of the playoffs. Not one. So a lot of predictable complaining tonight about their relative merit. And honestly, we're way past that. They were in the playoff and they just got beat. They changed not just the perception of their football program this year, but the reality of it as well. Curt Cignetti won Coach of the Year. They have a ton of dough in the NIL, and they intend to compete. It will not be easy. Your schedule will not be as easy every year as it was this year, but I believe the days of an empty stadium in Bloomington and 3-win seasons, they appear to be a thing of the past. -1.5 and has moved 2.5 points in Georgia's direction as the Bulldogs currently favorites. Notre Dame money line open, by the way, -120. Dogs and the Irish have met 3 times before. First in the 1981 Sugar Bowl. A freshman by the name of Herschel Walker led Georgia with 150 yards.
We're about to talk Bulldogs, baby. Woo! Go Dogs! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
They were 12-0 that year, and when they were named national champions for the first time in program history. They wouldn't meet again until week 2 of the 2017 season. That was in South Bend as well. Georgia, 20-19 lead in the 4th quarter on a go-ahead field goal by Rodrigo Blankenship, later sealing the game on a strip sack. It was Kirby Smart's first road win against a ranked team in his coaching career. The last time they met, September of 2019, it was Athens, another victory for the Dogs. It was a 23-17 win to open the season. And they will meet again in the Sugar Bowl. Dusty Dvoracek back with us, and just a wide open berth. I ask you, what stands out when I say Notre Dame and Georgia will play on New Year's Day?
Defense, defense, defense. It's going to be a defensive throwdown. You know I like that, Scott.
Yes, sir.
But look, this Notre Dame defense, it is legit. I mean, really all 3 levels. And at times, Georgia has reminded us they're still the most physical, best defense. You look at the 2 wins over Texas, where in those 2 games, 13 sacks, 25 tackles for loss in those 2 games. So I just think this is going to be an old school, roll your sleeves up defensive slugfest. And obviously, Gunnar Stockton, his first start in this game, what does that look like? I'll tell you what I saw from Georgia against Texas in that second half. I saw everybody around Gunnar Stockton raise their level of game. I saw Trevor Etienne and Frazier get running downhill, making plays. That offensive line moving a great Texas front off the football. So Kirby Smart's going to have them ready to play, and the other players around Gunnar Stockton are going to step up. But the first thing that jumps off the page to me, these 2 defenses, 2 of the best in college football, that's going to be on full display in that Sugar Bowl.
3 more games coming Saturday, beginning noon Eastern time. Whiteout, let's go, Maddie. Penn State hosting SMU, both teams making their first playoff appearance. It'll be the 3rd time they've met in history, the first since 1978. None of these young men were alive at that point and weren't for actually decades. At 4 Eastern, it's Clemson and Texas. Different shades of orange. Dabo and the Tigers, their 7th playoff appearance. Texas in its 2nd back-to-back years. Both the starting quarterbacks, that's Klubnik and Ewers, they met in the high school 2020 Texas State Championship game. Cool deal there. And then the nightcap, Columbus. It's Tennessee and Ohio State Vols. First trip to the playoff. Buckeyes making their 6th. Ohio State leads the nation in points per game allowed. Tennessee isn't far behind. The 4th fewest. Strength on strength there in Columbus. So there's a look again at the bracket. Dusty Dvoracek, kind enough to wait for a moment as we visited with Coach Freeman. And there are 3 matchups tomorrow. You'll be calling one with Dave Pasch. It's a game, obviously, in preparing for that, Dusty. You've thought of every angle, everything that is interesting about it. I'd ask you, what's most interesting about the Horns and the Tigers?
Well, the Cade Klubnik thing you just touched on, him playing Quinn Ewers in the state championship, he's 10 miles from the stadium, is where he grew up his entire life. And he's been one of the most improved players in all of college football. 3rd in the country, Scott, 33 touchdown passes. He's got some weapons outside with Antonio Williams, the freshman Wesco and TJ Moore. And they're really starting to gel as a passing attack. And Texas bolsters the #1 pass defense in the country, #3 in interceptions. They got the Thorpe Award winner in Jahdae Barron. They got a second-team All-American in Michael Taft, who was teammates with Cade Klubnik at Austin Westlake when they won that state championship. So I think Cade Klubnik has got to be a star. I think he's got to come back home, be the hero. Phil Maffa's banged up. He hasn't been running it as well. But if Cade Klubnik can lead this team with his arm, with his legs, I think that you're going to see Clemson show up with some real fight and some grit against one of the most complete teams in college football in the Texas Longhorns.
Every single coach that I've ever talked to loves to slip on that underdog cape and play the nobody believes in us. Hell, Kirby tried to convince his guys that all of us in the media said the Dogs were going to be 5-8 or something, which just isn't true. But in this case, I think Dabo has to know we really are underdogs in this game. What's your sense in talking to him about the challenge that he sees in the Longhorns?
Well, he's a confident guy now. Scott, I mean, he's been to, this is his 7th playoff that he's taken a team to, only one short of Alabama at 8. And I got to tell you, man, knowing that they lost to South Carolina in dramatic fashion late, but then coming back, getting that win, the walk-off win, he told us this week that his team has got a lot of confidence right now. And I would just say this, nobody is going to play that underdog role better than Dabo Swinney. And it's not fake this time, as you alluded to. This is a really good Texas team. They know they're, close to 2 touchdown underdogs coming in here. But he likes this team. He loves the leadership of this team. He's got a quarterback that's playing well, some legit NFL players on the defensive side. And, hey, man, Dabo's been saying all week long, us against the world. His team's bought into it, and I think that they're going to show up, and we're going to see the best of Clemson in this playoff spot tomorrow afternoon.
They're a big dog. We saw Indiana struggle as a big dog against Indiana tonight. Is there a dog that you say, you know what, that's a live dog. That's a team that could win on the road this week? If so, who is it?
What dog is barking? That's what you're asking, or should I say he's got a little bite? I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers. I think that matchup tomorrow night, under the lights, those programs in Columbus is fascinating to me.
I agree.
Is the hangover gone, Scott?
I don't know.
Is the hangover gone from Michigan?
I don't know, man.
I don't think any of us know. But I'm going to tell you this, Josh Heupel's got a good football team. They can do 2 things. They can run the football at Dylan Sampson, and they can play defense. And the matchup to me, Scott, is that defensive line of Tennessee, because James Pearson Company, they go 10-12 deep. Top 10 in tackles for loss, one of the best pressure teams in college football. And you know this, that Ohio State offensive line, they've dealt with injuries. Josh Simmons, Seth McLaughlin, those guys are out. They struggle to block Michigan. Can Tennessee dominate the line of scrimmage and shut down that rushing attack, get after Will Howard? If they can, it could be a long night in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow evening.
That's the nightcap. It gets started with SMU visiting Penn State. It snowed in Happy Valley. These guys from Dallas, people are talking like SMU's got no chance, but we know that that's never the case. They're in this playoff for a reason. If there's a script for them to follow to have an opportunity to leave there victorious, what's it look like, Dusty?
Well, look, they've got to stop the run, Scott. Look, Penn State hangs their hat on run the football. They got a good physical offensive line. They got a 2-headed monster running back with Singleton and Allen. Both those guys are over 800 yards. They rush for over 200 yards as a team. So that's who they want to be. Now, they're going to mix in Drew Aller. But the thing about SMU, Rhett Lashley's smart now. He utilized that portal. He's got some legit guys in depth on that defensive line. They're 4th in rush defense this season, holding opponents to 93 yards. If they can stymie that rushing attack of Penn State and force Drew Aller to beat them, I think they got a shot to go in there and make this a ball game. And Kevin Jennings, Look, he ain't no punk, right? He had a slow, sluggish start against Clemson. He was excellent those last 3 quarters. And I know Abdul Carter and that rush of Penn State's going to be really good and give SMU fits. But Kevin Jennings got some mobility, some shakes, some move around, can extend plays. But the key to this whole thing, can SMU stop Penn State's rushing attack? If they can't, it's going to be a long morning, a long early afternoon. If they can, strap up, baby. You might have ourselves a good ball game.
You know, my guy Stanford Steve and I like to talk about signing up for 60, and SMU did against Clemson. They battled until the very end, and that fight, I think, probably got them onto this grid and that opportunity they'll have at noon. You'll be on the call with Dave Pasch, 4 Eastern. Then Austin, we look forward to watching, man. Thanks so much for making the time for us here tonight, my friend.
Thanks, SVP. Appreciate you.